Welcome everyone to GAMERMELD. Could this be an RTX 2070 Ti? NVIDIA's 1660 Ti beats a GTX 1080, and we have a new Optane drive. But first, did you know certain services like airlines, car rentals, and hotels charge different prices depending on where you make the booking? Well, you can get around that with today's sponsor, Surfshark, the VPN that helps you save money and a ton more, like shortening load times by blocking every single ad. Plus, it's the only VPN that supports unlimited devices, and it's just $1.99 a month if you visit surfshark.com/gamermeld today. Okay, it's news time, and first up for today, we've got a leaked benchmark for what seems to be an RTX 2070 Ti. Originally tweeted by a pretty well-known leaker, Momomo_US, a user benchmark for a new NVIDIA graphics card sits very firmly in between the RTX 2070 and 2080's performance. And I know that I saw some rumors of a potential RTX 2070 Ti before all the 1660 Ti news began, so there's at least a chance. Plus, let's be honest here, a 2070 Ti makes perfect sense when you have the RTX 2080 at $700 and the 2070 at $500. Man, it still hurts to say those prices. Now, when we look at the benchmark, you can see it's clocked at 1590 MHz, which is what I'd expect if this was its base clock, but what's weird is that the 2070 is shown to have a clock of 2100 MHz, so it seems pretty clear that this has more cores, and if it's clocked closer to the 2070s, we get even better performance. One really weird thing is this card's RAM, which shows 7.5 gigabytes. Yeah, considering the 2070 and 2080 have 8 gigabytes, I'd be surprised if this was right. Or hey, maybe they're splitting off the RAM, similar to what landed the company in a class action lawsuit over the GTX 970. Yeah, I doubt that. Other than that, the RAM speed is a little off from what I'd expect, but it's likely an early build or it's reading it wrong. Or this really isn't the 2070 Ti a lot of outlets are reporting it as. Then again, I don't really see it being anything else, but I guess we shall see. Next up, we have an update on NVIDIA's support for DXR, Microsoft's ray tracing support in their DirectX API. As I reported, NVIDIA extended support for Pascal and non-RTX Turing GPUs. Well, today marks the release of their new game-ready driver that supports the feature, and with it came some really interesting benchmarks. As usual, because these come from NVIDIA, it's best to take them with some skepticism. Still, it paints an interesting picture for NVIDIA's newest architecture. For one, we can pretty clearly see that their new RTX cards dominate the field. Even the 2060 easily beats the 1080 Ti. Of course, that one was obvious. Remember, the RTX cards have special cores added specifically to handle real-time ray tracing in their AI-powered DLSS, to which is given the dark green shading in the benchmark, so the performance without DLSS is represented by the lighter green bar, though RTX GPUs still pretty well dominate. What's really interesting is the fact that the GTX 1660 Ti, the Turing card without Tensor or RT cores, overall beats the 1080. Sure, the 1080 wins in some scenarios, but the 1660 Ti wins more. Of course, these are more or less in the margin of error, but for a card that overall loses to the 1070, beating a 1080 in anything is impressive. Basically, it's likely something to do with the faster RAM or another aspect of Turing besides the added cores. Of course, this is only when utilizing ray tracing features, and NVIDIA does have a reason to make their newest cards look better, so we'll have to wait for third-party benchmarks before making a definitive statement. Lastly for today, Intel announced details on a new Optane-powered storage solution. No, it's not a non-volatile replacement for DRAM, you know, the one thing that really makes Optane interesting. Instead, it's an SSD that uses a small Optane drive as a cache for the bigger QLC NAND storage. One nice aspect is the fact that they put it all on one M.2 SSD drive, and it should help the slower, in certain scenarios, QLC storage, so it at least makes more sense than their last iteration. It's currently only available for notebook OEMs, which is actually a pretty smart move since this provides decent space savings, but according to Tom's Hardware, it'll eventually make its way to the DIY market, which I mostly just say, why? I mean, the money savings you get by getting a QLC-based drive will clearly be eaten up by 3D Point's Optane. Of course, hopefully I can get a hold of one to test out. So while that does it for today, what did you think of the news? Excited for a potential RTX 2070 Ti or just pumped to get ray tracing? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you liked the video, definitely make sure to subscribe. And as always, have a great day.